Welcome, everybody, to Web and Beyond Live. I'm Ray Sidney Smith, president of W3 Consulting and managing director of W3C Web Services, which provides affordable WordPress, managed WordPress hosting, and domain registration services and the like. And what I like to do every week is to come to you live and have a conversation about things that I think are trending or topical to you all in the greater landscape of digital marketing and productivity technologies, really to help you market and manage your business better and on the web. And so welcome. And if you are new to the interface, you can always comment in the live chat and ask questions, and I'll be able to hopefully see those and answer you. And if not, if you are watching after the fact, feel free to go ahead and find the comment section and leave a comment, and one of us will be happy to respond to you from wherever we are uh, sheltered in place. And you can go ahead and leave your questions there, and we can answer them when we have the ability to. Today, what I wanted to do was to lock in on one specific topic and kind of walk you through it, because in this pandemic response, I think as small businesses, we all really need to determine how to do business better and just really be more flexible and adaptive in that market, both offline and online. And what I really wanted to be able to do was to kind of walk us through one retail experience and how I would reposition, kind of redevelop the business in the face of this COVID-19 pandemic. I have a question here in the question panel that says, are you a developer or entrepreneur? I would say I'm a little bit of both. Because I own a business, I would consider myself an entrepreneur, and I do a lot of web development work, and so that side as well. The goal here is, if you had a retail shop and you sold widgets, let's just use widgets as the option, and you only sold through your retail store on Main Street yesterday. Now that the COVID-19 pandemic has happened, you are a non-essential business, and so your doors, in essence, are closed. How do you survive and thrive in this post COVID-19 world? And that's really the topic I'd like to cover today, just in brief, and walk you through the 5 things that I would think about doing in terms of making that transition. And hopefully you have some just suggestions. Throw those in the chat panel as well, and we'll make our way through this this morning. So first and foremost is to think about the immediate marketing response that you're going to have. There's a crisis response. Excuse me. There's a crisis response that needs to happen out the gate. But in after that's over, and I think for many of us that's over, we're in that space where we have to respond with regard to what do we do? How do we adopt and adapt our business with principles and practices that help us survive and thrive, as I talked about. And that first thought for me is really revenue model. What are the differences between your existing offline business and your hopefully new and present online business? The idea here is to start to work through what products and services you can provide online. That might mean that you're going to continue to sell your existing products in an online environment, in a virtual or digital environment. It may mean that you also need to actually think about selling those widgets in an environment, in a new way, potentially selling virtual widgets as opposed to physical widgets. And so we need to start thinking, what kinds of digital products could I provide? So for example, say I sell these widgets, and they're pretty complicated widgets. And what I want to be able to do now is to provide education about how people can use widgets in any way, shape, or form. Whether they buy the widgets from me or from somewhere else, I want to be able to show people that widgets are important in their worlds, and I am an expert in widgets because that's what I sell. And so maybe I might think, you know what? Let's go ahead and build an online course, a digital course that teaches people how to use these widgets, and they're going to pay me to be able to learn how to use the widgets, whether or not they buy them from me. Now, this does 2 things. One, it sets you up to sell more widgets once we're after the pandemic, right? Once your non-essential store opens back up, you're actually capable of now having a marketing piece of content, a really thorough, in-depth piece of marketing content to drive hopefully local retail traffic or nationwide or international traffic to your website. So this is one way that I think you could do it. Another is you could decide to go the route of, say, YouTube. You could build a YouTube audience and start hosting, either YouTube lives like this, or webinars, or just recording video of you educating people about different types of widgets, how to use those widgets in different contexts, how to care and maintain those widgets, and so on and so forth. And over time, creating all of that content, which then gets you above the threshold to be able to monetize the YouTube channel. And that monetization of the YouTube channel now builds you not only an audience for making money from YouTube paying you for the content you're creating, which is not going to be a lot of revenue, but it could be some. But also then you educating people about how they can buy widgets from you. So this is good sort of background in all of this. But the idea here is, what are the other revenue generating opportunities for you that you can then do? So I would think, okay, can I develop a course for this? Could I write a book on widgets that people will then be able to buy from me and understand how important widgets are in their world? Could I go ahead and create a paid webinar series where it's more like a masterclass? So you pay me, $1,000, and over the course of 10 weeks, I'm going to teach you each week a little bit on, on how to use a widget better and better and better over the course of those 10 weeks. I'm going to teach you some theory. Maybe I'm going to host and hold some office hours where you're going to come in and be one-to-one or in a smaller group setting with me, and really, ask the questions about those types of questions that you might have about the widgets. And so in essence, you're creating this real life environment and that kind of thing. I could also think, well, you know what? I could actually have trained staff, right? Limited, properly socially distanced staff in my retail store, and they can be like personal shoppers. They can go online at specific times of the day and just go live on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram Live, and ask and answer questions of the audience live in the store, where they're with the widgets and they can show the different product inventory. They can answer questions about modification and design of those widgets and how to use those widgets in a real-time environment. I could also set up a scheduling system that customers can then come to the scheduling tool on my website, and then go ahead and meet one-to-one with one of my personal shoppers, and then they're again now in the store by themselves or appropriately socially distanced and on video with the customer, and in essence is helping them choose the right widgets to purchase real time. Okay, so we have lots of different things to think about when it comes to, should this store stay in business in a way that makes it appropriate for both the offline world to stay in business, right? That is to survive through this, but to thrive, giving a new opportunity, a new chance to open up your sales to different markets and to a larger market for the future. I mean, it really will help you to be online anyway. So in that sense, now your online and also remember mobile experience is going to be that much better by giving you these opportunities to say, oh, you know what? Now we allow online scheduling, and I can hold up a mobile device and walk around the store or sit down at my desk with you and walk through the physical products that we have, and give you that kind of customized, bespoke experience that you would otherwise have in a physical environment, but without the travel. If I'm in Oklahoma and you're in New York City, we can have that experience all through video technology today, and it won't be ideal, right? It's not perfect. It's not the same as being in person. Say I'm in in the textile business. I'm not going to be able to feel the fabric. I'm not going to be able to do those things. But you could ship back and forth samples based on an initial video interview where we meet one-to-one, and I talk about the different fabrics, send you some samples, you send back the swatches or whatnot, and now you have had an opportunity to increase your book of business and your in the expansiveness of the business's client base by virtue of expanding into different revenue models, different products, different services that allow you to do it. Obviously, there's going to be some, if you're a physical retail space, you're going to be doing some level of delivery or shipping to be able to do that. So you have to think about how that's going to impact your profitability and whether or not you need to raise prices in order to be able to meet the needs of the shipping and delivery and fulfillment needs of the business while still staying competitive in the market. So you have to kind of price that out in terms of how you're going to do that. Second thing is the retail experience. So often than not, what I don't think a lot of people understand as business owners is that your website and your web presence, what I consider all of the things that represent you online as a business, kind of like your business, like you as a persona, your persona in the world. People think about who you are and what you are. That's kind of your own personal brand. Your business has a brand, but it also actually has a digital brand, a web presence, as I call it. And that web presence includes your website and social media and email presence and all of the various parts of what really culminates together as the business online, that digital presence. So when you are creating your website, the web presence is really the retail experience that I would have in the retail store environment now on the web. And you need to translate that. So think about it literally as if you were walking around the website. What would the experience be? And should it match the physical store's experience? The answer is usually yes. But we have to tailor it, obviously, to the virtual or digital world. And so we have to think, okay, well, the front door is the home page of the website in in very plain terms. But when it comes to Google and the search engine, my front door to your website could be any page that I enter. So how do I create that level of consistency so that when I do a search for, widgets in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I land on a page on your website that talks about widgets, how can I entree them into the rest of the retail experience in a way that feels both customized, personalized, but also useful toward the call to action, which is you ultimately want them to do something. That might be buy a widget right now, but it also might mean talking to me, scheduling a one-to-one where I can walk you through my store and the various product in inventory, and then you go ahead and purchasing with me in a more one-to-one environment as opposed to through the website. You have to figure out all these pieces, but that's the retail experience. How is that really going to work? And how is that going to work on mobile? And how is it going to feel design-wise? That's really where you have to talk to your potentially your brand designer, brand strategist, graphic designer, and so on and so forth. If it's DIY, then you really need to look at your competition, look at your the other folks who are doing what you're doing similarly in different geographic regions, and just look at lots of lots of templates or examples across many different industries to see how they might do it, and it might be similar to your industry in the way in which you would want that retail experience to be done in the digital space. But really, what I want you to do is I want to think about it. How do you walk through a grocery store? How do you walk through a children's clothing store? Those are very different experiences. And so your store, your retail store would need to actually have that same experience. But even if you're not a retail store, by the way, if you're a service-based business, same retail experience applies. You should be thinking, how do people navigate my website? How do they experience that all told? And how does that further my sales goals? How does that further my marketing goals? And really think about it from that perspective. Then the third umbrella is really platform. We need to think about how it is that we get the site off the ground and it can do the functions that we need it to do in the context of the business. So for example, there is the marketing front end, right? Which is how does the strategy from lead generation, bringing people from other sources to the website, what are the goals we have for the site in that lead generation, the lead capture, and ultimately sales capacity? And are there other functions that we need the site to do? Do we need it to manage files, transferring back and forth purchase orders, uploading documents, uploading other content to the site, and being able to deliver content and other products from the website? For example, if you're going to create that course I talked about at the top of this, Well, you're going to need a course platform to be able to deliver those services, one that handles all of that. That might be a tool you put onto your own website, an LMS or learning management system that you install on your website. It could be one that is offsite that hopefully can be branded, and that means both URL as well as the look and feel of the site is your brand. How are you going to do that? And again, remember, how's this going to handle from a payment perspective, and how much is the profit margins with regard to that, and what is the mobile experience going to be like? Because remember, a lot of folks are going to be experiencing this on mobile, and you want that experience to be positive and to be thorough. Really think mobile first. Okay, so you got to think, okay, how am I going to take payments? How am I going to handle the administration of those pieces, right? Am I going to be able to update and communicate with my clients on mobile as well, or am I going to need to be at a desktop in order to be able to do that stuff? Okay. Next up is then security. And I know this seems quite odd to people who have never done business online before or don't have a lot of technical acumen when it comes to being online generally. But you must think about cybersecurity when it comes to any level of digital marketing or digital business. Today, there are malefactors like, basically bad hackers, bad software developers who are out there who have made a business of stealing data and of corrupting systems and doing things that can harm you and your customers as well as your employees for profit. And because there is a profit model there, there's a business model to hacking into your systems and to taking advantage of your services online, that is your website or email server or your client list or whatever. We need to make sure that we're thinking cybersecurity right in the process of developing new business models, especially when we're dealing with the online services. So you want to make sure that you have a cybersecurity strategy in place. You want to make sure that you're thinking about not only how to secure you, because you as the small business owner are going to get attacked the most. Usually you're going to be the target of a lot of these things because they want to be able to get your data to get like your username and password is going to be the admin for things. Your email address is going to be the direct way to get in touch with you and to basically phish information from you that is fake. Being someone or trying to get information from you that only you would know, that would then get access to critical business infrastructure like your client data list or your client usernames and passwords to other systems, things of that nature. So you really want to pay attention to you. But also, then you have infrastructure like your employees. For example, if I were doing one-to-one personal shopping through video meetings, I wouldn't have anything in my periphery that the customer would ultimately know more about my employees' personal data. For example, if they had maybe like a an employee ID tag with an employee number on it, that would not be good to have in and online, because you would presume that employee number is probably a username for payroll or a password for them to get into certain systems. You don't want that stuff published, even though it's a private meeting one-to-one with a customer. You still don't want to expose that kind of information. You would also train your employees not to share personal information about themselves, like where they live. God forbid the person on the other side, a customer that you don't know, that you probably know less because now they're maybe in a different part of the country or different nation even, they may not be a good person, and they may do something like stalk your employee because the employee has now given them information that they shouldn't have otherwise known had they come into the store and just browse the store and bought their product, their widget from me. They wouldn't have known that about my employee, but because they interacted so much more with my employee on this one-to-one level, they would feel comfortable with taking advantage of them in that way. Engaging the employee in training to make sure that they don't give up information about themselves, but also don't give up information about you, the business owner, or about the business generally. That would be information they just don't need, right? You're just going to have that level of stuff. But just little things you don't think about. For example, a lot of people working from home right now, they have pictures of their family members up on the photo frames behind them in in their office and so on and so forth. I would suggest you not do that, especially having picture frames of young children with their names on it, because then you're out on the street and a person who has seen those photos, potentially having been, you could be recorded in some meeting. They could post that onto YouTube. Somebody on YouTube who's not the best person in the world sees that picture, sees your child, sees the name, and then says, hey, little Susie, I'm a friend of your mom or dad, and bad things can happen because of that. So we have to just be a little bit more, I hate to say skeptical, but a little bit more concerned about sharing data in an online business than we do in potentially a physical offline business. I would argue that probably not, but just know that if you do and are a little bit more casual with the people you do business with on a regular basis and you see them every day, you trust them more, and you should trust people online a little less in that way. Okay, so I've told my piece regarding security, and then last but not least is really the marketing and advertising plan with regard to moving the business online. In a traditional offline business, you may run some ads in traditional publications. You may be a member of your local chamber of commerce, and you do offline one-to-one or group networking, where you go to a referral networking group and you go to events and you make hands with people. You shake hands, and now it'll be a lot of, I presume, elbow bumping and bowing. But the goal here is to do all those offline things that you were doing after the fact. But during this situation where you may have been doing some lightweight social media marketing, where you're out there promoting the business through social channels, you need to beef that up to another level, which means that you actually need to spend some money on making sure that your content strategy matches up with your lead generation strategy and lead capture strategy on your website. And ultimately, your website has the ability for you to be able to convert well. That means that if you have 10 people who show up at your website and one person buys from you for every 10 people, you have a 10-to-1 sales ratio, or 1-to-10 sales ratio, depending how you say it. But the point is that you want to make sure that you are converting higher numbers of people over time, so that your profitability with regard to the website increases and the value of the website increases. And that means you put more content and more resources into the website so that it can do better and more for you, because thankfully the website can run 24/7 and be in business 24/7 from anywhere in the world that your website can be accessed. So why not make it more powerful over time? So the whole notion here is that by leading people to your website, you want to make sure that you have a sales strategy involved and in place, the infrastructure in place to make it really useful for you over time. You don't want to put money into a website and then for it to just sit there statically. You want it to be able to be not only functional for you as a business owner, but one of those other pieces is for it to be functional for the user. And that, of course, ends up being a huge marketing bonus plus sales bonus as well. So for example, I might decide with my widget business that on my website, I'm going to put together a widget calculator so that people can come to my website and determine how many widgets do they need and how many widgets do they need that are in inventory in my store right now and which are out of stock. So I can interface my inventory system with my website and now create this tool that anytime I need a widget, whether I need 5 or 5,000, I can come to my website and just punch that information in and get a function that I couldn't get otherwise without having to send an email or pick up the phone and call you and say I do my best work at 1 a.m. Well, now I can do that. And that means I'm going to come to your website. And guess what? If I, as the business owner, have set up my website to really have a great lead capture mechanism, now what's going to happen is, because I showed up at your website at 1 a.m. and I couldn't call you and talk to you or email you at 1 a.m., and you now have a prompt that says, hey, by the way, if you buy from us, you'll get this. If you sign up for our email, you'll get 10% off your next order. Well, guess what? I can now go ahead and do that. Robin is noting here that she's seen small craft stores enrolling customers with curbside pickup to class supplies. For class supplies, they have scheduled live time to have the class. I think that's a great idea. It's really one of these things where we're all in unprecedented, uncharted waters, and we need to be flexible and dynamic in how we actually match out and match to the needs of our customers. So really, really great point there. yes, second drop off and pickup rounds are really, really important, Robin. And so I think all of those suggestions are really, really great. And so think about how you're going to then do the digital marketing on one side. And just in closing, I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that in this stage of the business now, if you have a well converting site and you've got all the other pieces involved and in place, now is when you can put ads into Google and the Google Ads platform. You can put money into Facebook, which is where Facebook pushes out to both Facebook's platform, Instagram, Messenger, as well as the Facebook Publisher Network, which means other websites that place Facebook ads as well as mobile applications. If you've ever played Words with Friends and you see the ads that pop up within the Words with Friends game on your mobile phone, those are Facebook ads through the Facebook Publisher Network. So you can actually push ads into these other environments very, very in a very slick way. And so you have the ability to put ads across various social channels, LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest and so on and so forth. And that's when you advertise, when you have the infrastructure in place where you know that your conversion rates, that is the goals you have for the website for sales, are matched up well with the dollars you're spending. And now you can get yourself some real power in being able to not only drive traffic on one side to your website from the ads, but know that the ads are going to mean something in terms of dollars on the other side. So this is the conversion process, the transition process we need to take for any business, but specifically I just wanted to focus in on a retail business here so you could get an idea of going from I've never done business online before. I've even maybe been fearful of it, but now I'm forced to because my business needs to survive in this and hopefully thrive on the other side of this. So I really recommend people think about all these pieces. And if you come into contact with folks who are not doing this, who are just kind of petrified by this idea, feel free to recommend them watching this video, but also have them reach out to me. I'll be happy to walk them through the process in that regard. Robin is asking that she's heard about some Google grants for ads for small business. I've not heard about that. I've heard about a grant for Google for the Google Nonprofits program, providing some more opportunities there for nonprofits. But I will look up, and if I find anything, I'll throw that into the description as a link. So thank you for that. And yeah, so that's the idea, is to walk us through what's the revenue model, how is it going to be different from the offline to online, and how do those two pieces fit together. I really don't want you to shut your retail space down just for the heck of it. I want you to think about how the retail space can actually serve the online space and vice versa. I want them to be symbiotic. I don't want one to be better than the other necessarily, except that the digital one can scale and can actually enhance the offline business. And as all told, I want you to really think about the mobile and design format for retail experience. Really think about the retail experience. Then you make the choices of platform based on that. So how are we going to take payment? How are we going to handle administration? And what is the overall look and feel for the consumer throughout the purchase process? Security, security, security. Always think about security for you, the business, employees, and customers, both your private identity as well as data. And then last but not least is thinking about how you're going to market and advertise now that you have the infrastructure in place to sell online. Once you have that part converting well, you really want to think about how to drive traffic to the website, both through marketing and advertising purposes, promotional and advertising purposes, and then how to convert those people on the other side. So with that, I hope you guys have gotten some value out of today, and hopefully you can consider how to make the business better. So we've come to the end of our time together, but that doesn't mean the conversation needs to end. Feel free to comment and questions. Send me your questions and thoughts. I'm happy to answer those both offline if you want to email me, and then of course in the comments below the video. If you've enjoyed the live stream, feel free to join me again next week. I'm here every week on Mondays. I'm trying at 11 a.m. Eastern to join. If the time changes, I'll let you know on social media. And so with that, thanks for spending your time with me here on Web and Beyond Live. Again, I'm Ray Sidney Smith with W3 Consulting and W3C Web Services. Have a great week, and here's to your marketing and managing on the web and beyond. Take care.